Thank you very much for joining us. We would like to inform everyone in the hall. The senior officials meeting will begin shortly, so please take your seats. Thank you. Once again, thank you very much for your participation. So we'd like to inform you in the hall, the senior official meeting will now begin, so please have your seats.
Hello. So, Excellency, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in welcoming our special guest this morning, His Excellency Mr. Hong Jeong-gi, Vice Minister, Ministry of Environment, Republic of Korea, His Excellency Mr. Yom Tae-yong, Mayor, Honorable Mayor, Suwon City, Republic of Korea, Ms. Lakshmi Dewanti, Vice President of the 5th Session of the United Nations Environment Assembly Bureau and Director General, Ministry of Environment and Forest, Indonesia, Mr. Narespal Gangwar, Joint Secretary, of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, India, and Chair of the Senior Officials Bureau, Third Forum of Ministers and Environment Authorities of Asia Pacific, and Ms. Dichen Sering, Regional Director and Representative, UN Environment Program, Asia and Pacific. Now, it is our honor to invite Mr. Norespal Gangwar, Joint Secretary as Chair of the Bureau of the Senior Officials Meeting, and also to chair the today's opening session. So Mr. Gangwar, please.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Senior Officials Meeting of the 4th Forum of Ministers and Environmental Authorities of Asia Pacific. It is now my honor to invite His Excellency Mr. Hong Jeong-ki, Vice Minister, Ministry of Environment, Republic of Korea, to deliver his welcome address.
Good morning. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, let me first thank you for participating both in person and virtually in Senior Officials Meeting of the 4th Forum of Ministers and Environment Authorities of Asia Pacific. The Asia Pacific is the most populous and the fastest growing region in the world. The region is also known for its high population density and rapid urbanization. Industries in this region emit more than half of the global greenhouse gases. Ironically, however, the region is also most vulnerable to climate change impacts. The persistent threats of a pandemic has been looming large across borders and continents. In this increasingly connected world, the pandemic was a powerful reminder that there will be a price to pay if we keep destroying the nature. Excellencies, to build back better and more sustainable from this pandemic, we should collect our wisdom. Solidarity in this region could surely bring about the changes we want. At this forum, we will share the best practices and the progress we have made so far. Under the 4 action areas covering economy, health, climate change, and food systems, we will seek ways to strengthen actions for nature to achieve SDGs in this region. Our expectation for this forum is to share best practices of regional and stakeholder partnerships and resource mobilization that can support nature-based actions in this region. Excellencies, at the P4G Seoul Summit last May, Korea pledged to increase the percentage of climate and environment-based ODAs to above the average level of OECD by 2025. We will provide necessary support for developing countries in their carbon neutral transition. Korea took another step further and announced its bid to host UNFCCC COP28 in 2023. The bid indicates our strong commitment to contribute to the global efforts to achieve the Paris Agreement. Korea will continue to do its part and bridge the gap between developed and developing countries so that we all can achieve inclusive green recovery. Your sincere interest and support for us would be deeply appreciated. Excellencies, the latest IPCC report has shown us that the pace of global temperature increase is estimated to be faster than expected. There is no time for delay. In this regard, this meeting is a special opportunity for us. Despite the pandemic, we are still gathered here, working to accelerate our action together. I hope this forum will continue to serve as a strong platform for our joint climate action in this region. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency Mr. Hong Jeong-ki, for that inspiring welcome address. Now, I am also honored to invite His Excellency Mr. Yom Tae-yong, Mayor Swan City, Republic of Korea, to deliver his welcome address.
Good morning, everybody. I am Yom Tae-yong, Mayor of Suwon City. I would like to welcome all of you to Suwon, home to UNESCO World Heritage Site Suwon Hwasong Fortress, and the host city of the world first Eco-Mobility Festival. On behalf of nearly 1.3 million cities of Suwon, let me extend my heartfelt welcome to all the visiting ministers, heads of delegation, and representatives of international organizations, as well as online participants of all member states. My city took an initiative in climate action of Korea's local government. In June last year, Suwon led the climate emergency declaration joined by all Korea's local governments. A month later, my city again played a key role in launching the Net Zero Coalition of local governments, which comprise 90% of Korea's subnational administration for local-driven climate emergency measures. Think globally, act locally. It is the motto of sustainable development, along with the motto, small betting scale-up approach should be at the core of sustainable development strategy, which means taking local government-centered measures first, and then spreading best practice nationwide. Yesterday, here at this convention center, the Asia Pacific City Summit was held by local governments in our region. During the summit, we agreed to form a policy coalition among cities to realize sustainable cities. Now, cities are home to 3/4 of global population. Cities are gradually expanding more rapidly in our region. Each city is facing a variety of challenges, not to mention the environment. There are many other issues such as unemployment, poverty, habitation, and transport that can hamper sustainability. Our city reached a strong consensus that solidarity and cooperation rather than isolation and competition is key to tackle problems. I am confident that the consensus will be a starting point in innovative leadership to realize green recovery and carbon neutrality. Accordingly, I would like to propose to regularly hold this ministerial forum with the Asia Pacific Cities Summit. The forum and the summit will create excellent synergy and a model for multi-level governance, where civic participation and action can be interlinked with the local and national governments. I anticipate that discussions in this forum will help nations and local governments as of Asia Pacific share more concrete conviction on sustainable world while driving bolder actions. I wish good health and fortune to all the participants of this forum. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency Mr. Yom Tae-yong, for his opening address. Now I will invite Ms. Dechen Shering, UN Environment Regional Director and Representative of Asia and the Pacific, to deliver her welcome address.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Gangwar. And good morning, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency Vice Minister Hong Jong-ki, Ministry of Environment, Your Excellency Yom Tae-yong, Mayor Suwon City, Your Excellency Ms. Lakshmi Dewanti, Vice President of the 5th Session of the UN Environment Assembly Bureau and Director General, Ministry of Environment and Forestry. It really is an honor for me to welcome you to the senior officials meeting of the 4th Forum of Ministers, Environment Authorities of Asia and Pacific. A very warm welcome to all delegates on site and online. I would like to thank the government of Korea for hosting this very important regional forum. I was informed that we have more than 300 delegates represented from 31 member states in the region. Due to the limitations of the current COVID-19 global pandemic, we are meeting in a hybrid format. But I would like to convey to all participants, especially the participants online, that Suwon City has built a beautiful convention center and has worked really hard to make sure that this meeting is a success. I'm sure the discussions and deliberations will be engaging and productive as in previous meetings. The future of our region will define how it prepares for and responds to this and future pandemics and other crises, and how we can build back better in the recovery process. Positive transformation can occur if prevention, response, and recovery are aligned with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In our region, we face significant challenges to strengthen action for nature, developing and applying actions for nature to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. In order to address these challenges, we are going to need political will from governments. We're going to need political will from businesses, communities, and we are going to need citizens' engagement. I look forward to hearing from honorable delegates on your national experiences, the initiatives, the innovations, and please share with us both your successes and also your challenges. Since the last ministerial forum, we've witnessed global country leadership from our region. The government of India hosted the 14th session of the Conference of Parties to the UN Convention to Combat Desertification in 2019. And in 2020, they hosted the 13th Conference of Parties of the Convention on Migratory Species. The government of China will host the upcoming 15th Conference of Parties of the Convention on Biological Diversity, and the government of Indonesia will host the 4th Conference of the Parties of the Minamata Convention. On plastic pollution, our countries have committed to implementing frameworks on actions on marine plastic litter. This includes the Coordinating Body on the Seas of East Asia and the Northwest Pacific Action Plan, the Regional Action Plans on Marine Litter, and the Pacific Regional Waste and Pollution Management Strategy. On air pollution, the Asset Deposition Monitoring Network in East Asia, ENET, has been implementing resolutions on reducing air pollution. I'm very pleased to note that the 22nd session of the Intergovernmental Meeting of ENET has expanded the network's work to include wider air pollution issues. The UN Conference on Sustainable Development, Rio Plus 20, asked UNEP to engage and catalyze the UN system-wide action on environment. I'm happy to brief you that UNEP is now a member of all the UN country teams in the Asia-Pacific region, and we work actively to prepare the common country analysis and the UN Sustainable Development Cooperation frameworks. We see this as an important opportunity to mobilize the knowledge and resources of our sister agencies at the country level. Please allow me to express appreciation for the contribution of member states in the region, your support to the Environment Fund, as well as to extra budgetary support. This forum also allows UNEP Asia Pacific to report on progress on resolutions and to brief you on projects, programs, advocacy efforts. And we hope you will let us know if this reflects your priorities and it addresses going forward implementing the resolution. When we start to look at the next few months, it is quite critical. We're looking at, when we start to look at actions for nature, we have the Convention on Biological Diversity, the post-2020 Biodiversity Framework. We're looking at the success of the UN Decade on Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, and the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, which was launched at World Environment Day 2021 with the government of Pakistan serving as a global host. This forum will provide space to highlight issues on the theme of action for nature that are of particular importance to our region. We want to make sure that the voices of the Asia-Pacific member states is heard loud and clear at the second session of the 5th UN Environment Assembly in Nairobi in February 2022, and as we commemorate the 50th anniversary of the UN Environment Programme, UNEP at 50, in Nairobi in March 2022. I thank you and I wish you a very productive day of deliberation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Dechen, for this opening address. I will now invite Ms. Lakshmi Devanti, Vice President of the 5th Session of United Nations Environment Assembly Bureau and Director General, Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Indonesia, to deliver her inaugural address.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A very good morning. May the peace, mercy, and blessing of God upon you. His Excellency Hong Joo-ki, Vice Minister, Ministry of Environment, His Excellency Mr. Yum Tai-yung, Mayor of Swan City, Your Excellency Ms. Dechen Sering, my colleagues, Regional Director and Representative, UN Environment Programme Asia and the Pacific, honorable heads of delegations, representative of UN agencies, major groups and stakeholders, and distinguished participants. I have the honor of addressing you in my capacity as Vice President from Asia Pacific Group for the 5th UN Environment Assembly, the UNEP 5 Bureau. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you to this senior official segment of the 4th Forum of Ministers and Environment Authorities of Asia Pacific. I'm grateful to the Government of Republic of Korea for hosting this important forum and for its warm hospitality. Distinguished delegates, colleagues, you may recall that UNEP 5 session was divided into 2 parts and prolonged by 1 year due to the pandemics. The most urgent administrative decisions were effectively dealt with in the first sessions of the 5th UNEP, or UNEP 5.1, which was held on 22nd to 23rd February this year, under exceptional circumstances due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The UNEP 5.1 expressed concern about the devastating global effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, creating new and serious health, socio-economic, and environmental challenges that may lead to challenge our common effort to achieve the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. UNEP 5.1 realized more than ever that human health and well-being are dependent upon nature and the solution it provides. And we are aware that we shall face recurring risks for future pandemics if we maintain our current unsustainable pattern in our interactions with nature. UNEA 5.1 was dedicated to supporting a sustainable and inclusive recovery that protects the planet, stimulates sustainable consumption and production, revitalizes our economics and creates decent and sustainable jobs, and makes real progress in eradicating poverty while enhancing our future resilience to similar crises. UNEA 5.1 agreed to reconvene in person for the resumed session of the 5th United Nations Environment Assembly, or UNEA 5.2, in Nairobi from 28 February to 2nd March next year, which will be held under the overarching themes of strengthening actions for nature to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. UNEA 5.1 also decided to convene a special sessions of the United Nations Environmental Assembly to mark the 15th anniversary of the United Nations Environment Programme. This event will be held on 3rd and 4th March 2022 in Nairobi, in conjunction with resumed 5th session of Environment Assembly. Distinguished delegates, colleagues, we are underway with the preparation for the UNEA 5.2. The ministerial outcome of Environment Assembly is expected to send a strong message about the political will and commitment of UN member states to continue our joint effort for strengthened actions for nature to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and to make further progress in implementations of resolution and decision from previous sessions of the Environment Assembly, including on the future of the global environment outlook and on marine litter and microplastic. The 4th Forum of Ministers and Environment Authorities of Asia Pacific, a regional preparatory meeting, provide us with a chance to review how our decisions and resolutions have been put into actions in the region and help identify the region's input to the UNEA 5.2. Distinguished delegates, I'm sure that the 4th Forum of Ministers and Environment Authority of Asia Pacific will play a critical role in identifying regional environmental agenda for sustainable development and help build a clearer voice from Asia Pacific at the resumed session of the UN Environment Assembly, as well as across UN and its processes. Finally, I would like to express my gratitude to the Ministry of Environment and Suwon City for hosting this important regional event in Republic of Korea. Also, my deep appreciations to UNEP Secretariat, Regional Director and her team for jointly organizing this 4th AP Forum. I'm also grateful to member states and other stakeholders for participating at the high-level segment of this forum, both on-site and online, under these challenging COVID-19 circumstances. I'm honored to deliver the inaugural address and look forward to successful deliberations of the 4th Forum of Ministers and Environment Authorities of Asia Pacific. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Devanti, for the important inaugural address. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I am really honored to be here today at this 4th Forum of Ministers and Environmental Authorities of Asia Pacific. I am grateful to Government of Republic of Korea for hosting this important forum and for its warm hospitality. This forum brings a great value to the region with priorities for the regional environmental agenda, issues related to sustainable development goals, and conveying a clearer message from Asia Pacific at the second session of 5th United Nations Environment Assembly and other UN processes. This forum discussed the theme of 5th session of United Nations Environment Assembly, strengthening actions for nature to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. I also congratulate Secretariat, the UN Environment Program, for its leadership to jointly organize the forum with the Ministry of Environment of Republic of Korea. Thank you once again for the invitation and look forward to successful deliberations. Now I will request Secretariat to make further announcement. Thank you.
So thank you, Chair. Excellency, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, our Excellency Vice Minister and Excellency Mayor we need to leave now because of their busy schedule today. And we are also, would be moving the meeting to the USEFT on the floor. So we are very honored to have today the Honorable Vice Minister, Honorable Mayor, and now we would be moving to the floor. Thank you very much.
Everybody seated? Shall we start? It is my honor now to oversee the election of officers of the senior official segment. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. We now move to the election of the officers of the senior officials, meeting of 4th Forum of Ministers and Environment Authorities of Asia Pacific. The forum will elect a chair and 2 vice chairs to serve as bureau for the senior official segment. I now open the floor for any nomination for the position of a chair and 2 vice chairs.
Mr. Chairperson, I'm trying to raise my hand. This is Inkbat from Mongolia.
Okay. Please go ahead, please. We can hear
Honorable Chairperson, I had the honor to propose the election of the following distinguished representatives for the Bureau of Senior Officials meeting of the 4th Forum of Ministers and Environmental Authorities of Asia Pacific. For Chair, Mr. Anil Jasinga, Secretary, Ministry of Environment of Sri Lanka. For Vice Chair, Ms. Jung Young, Director General, Ministry of Environment, Republic of Korea. For the second Vice Chair, Dr. Wan Monun, Secretary General, National Council for Sustainable Development, Ministry of Environment of Cambodia. I'm sure that the distinguished delegates which I have proposed will discharge their duties efficiently for the successful deliberations of the senior officials segment. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you, distinguished delegates of Mongolia, for this proposal. Would anyone wish to second this proposal? Okay. I think Singapore. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, I shall second the proposal of Mongolia for the borough, which will consist of the Chair, Mr. Anil Jasinghe, Secretary of the Ministry of the Environment of Sri Lanka, and the two Vice Chairs, Ms. Jeong Eun-hye, Director General of the Ministry of Environment of the Republic of Korea, and the second Vice Chair, Dr. Van Moninith, Secretary General, National Council for Sustainable Development, Ministry of Environment of Cambodia. I would like to extend best wishes to the elected bureau members for the successful deliberation of the senior officials meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegates of Singapore. Are there any other proposals? I see none. It is therefore my honor to confirm that the following delegates have been elected as officials of senior official segment of the forum. As chair, Mr. Anil Jasinghe, Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Sri Lanka. Vice Chair, Ms. Jeong Eun-hye, Director General, Ministry of Environment, Republic of Korea. Vice Chairman, Dr. Van Moninith, Secretary General, National Council for Sustainable Development, Ministry of Environment, Cambodia. It is my privilege to congratulate the elected members of Bureau for Senior Official segment of the forum, and I wish them all the best in their important work ahead. May I now invite Mr. Anil Jasinghe to come to the rostrum to take his place as the chair of senior official meeting.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor and privilege for me to serve as the chair of this important forum of ministers and environment authorities of Asia Pacific at its fourth session. For myself and on behalf of the other two members of the Bureau, namely Vice Chair Ms. Jeong Eun-hye, Director General, Ministry of Environment, Republic of Korea, and Vice Chair Dr. Van Moninith, Secretary General, National Council for Sustainable Development, Ministry of Environment, Cambodia. I wish to express our appreciation to the distinguished representatives for the confidence you have placed in us. And also, I thank two vice chairs. We have a challenging agenda ahead of us. As the chair of the senior officials meeting, I shall do my best to ensure that this meeting achieves its objectives and produces meaningful outcomes for our future work together. In this connection, I would like to rely on the spirit of cooperation and involvement of all distinguished delegates and the able support of the members of the Bureau. I also wish to thank the Secretariat for the organization of this forum, and I am sure we can count on its continued good work. I would like to express particular appreciation to the Government of Republic of Korea for the hospitality, and also His Excellency Hong Jong-ki, His Excellency Yomen Tang-yong, Mrs. Lakshmi Devanti, Mrs. Dekan Sering for your valuable opening remarks, which will set the tone of this meeting. And also I would like to thank the outgoing chair, Mr. Naresh Pal Gangwa, Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, India, for chairing for the last year. Before moving to adoption of the agenda, I would like to mention that due to the current COVID-19 pandemic situation and the associated logistical challenges in the region, the forum is being organized in hybrid platform, and I would welcome your active participation and that of your delegation both in person and virtually. I understand that Secretariat has already shared the information on platform for participation both in person and online. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, let us now turn to agenda item 1C on the adoption of agenda as presented to you in document UNEP/APENV Forum 4L1. Before I present the agenda for endorsement, I would like to recall that the geographical coverage of the United Nations Environment Programme Regional Office of Asia and Pacific includes 41 member states: Afghanistan, Australia, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Brunei Darussalam, Cambodia, China, Cook Islands, Democratic Republic of Korea, Fiji, India, Indonesia, Islam Republic of Iran, Japan, Kiribati, Lao People's Democratic Republic, Malaysia, Maldives, Marshall Islands, Micronesia, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nauru, Nepal, New Zealand, Navy, Pakistan, Palau, Papua New Guinea, Philippines, Republic of Korea, Samoa, Singapore, Solomon Islands, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Timor-Leste, Tonga, Tuvalu, Vanuatu, and Vietnam. I now open the floor for any comments, unless I see delegates have any comments. It is so decided. Thank you. I see no comments. Therefore, the agenda is adopted. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the opening session. I thank for your cooperation in adopting the agenda of the 4th Forum of Ministers and Environment Authorities of Asia Pacific. I will now hand over the Secretariat for announcements. Thank you.